This happened several years ago, and I won't go into a ton of detail because Google exists and I don't want to point a bit arrow to where it happened by saying too much. I had worked at a big pizza chain for almost a year at this point, so I was aware of a lot of the dangers of the job, robberies, drunken morons, naked people, etc. But this instance really made it sink in. A girl had been reported missing in our area under super suspicious circumstances. It was a big deal, in a relatively small town where things like that don't happen super frequently. It was all over the news, billboards were being put up, the whole shebang. We had state cops, other county cops, and federal investigators all in town to help. A few weeks after the initial report, they announced an arrest. They had the guy dead to rights. No question that he was the one who did it. When I got to work that day, someone asked me if I had seen the announcement. I hadn't yet, so I pulled up the news article on my phone. I know that name. I know that address. I know that face. A month or so prior, I had delivered to this guy. His apartment complex was a few blocks down the road. To add to the creep factor, this dude lived in a complex with several buildings, where each one had a locked door to get into the building. It's full of young kids that are almost always drunk and ignorant when they order, and I'd had issues there before. Due to that, I made a point to always have customers come and meet me at the main door as opposed to being buzzed in and going to their unit door. Usually it wasn't a huge deal, but this dude really tried to press the issue and had several excuses to why he couldn't come down and I needed to come up. Each one was met with, "Company policy doesn't allow me to do that," until he finally came down. He was less than enthusiastic, but paid for his pizza and I went about my way. As a female, and given that this happened within a few weeks of him kidnapping and killing the other girl, I am so immensely grateful for all the drunken morons that caused me to stop going inside of the buildings at this complex. Being a delivery driver for several pizza places a few years back, I had a lot of experiences with weird customers or just strange things that would happen at night. But this one night takes the prize for the most disturbing and unusual situation. I had been working at the specific chain pizza shop for just under a year. I worked mid-shifts and night shifts alongside one other co-worker for the most part. It would stay busy basically up until closing at 2 a.m., so there wasn't a ton of time to mess around, especially since it was just the two of us. I'll call my co-worker Jerry to keep his privacy. He was in charge during the night shifts and would make all the pizzas while I would deliver them. Both of us would answer calls though, depending on who was busy and who wasn't. Anyway, it was just past 11 p.m., and I had gotten back from a delivery when the phone rang. Seeing Jerry in the middle of making a pizza, I picked up the phone. A man on the other line spoke, asking for a large sausage pizza. I put in the order and asked if he needed anything else. The man didn't answer for a moment, then he repeated himself, saying that he'd like a large sausage pizza. This time I could tell through the way he mumbled it out that he was likely drunk. I confirmed that he just wanted one pizza, and the man said yes. I sent the order through, then grabbed my next delivery and dropped it off. Getting back to the shop, Jerry had finished the guy's order and prepped it for delivery, so I grabbed it off the counter and ran to my car. I noticed as I was grabbing the order through, Jerry was giving me a weird look, as if he wanted to say something to me but decided not to. The address was a good 15 minutes away, but there was no traffic at this time, so I got there pretty early. The house was normal but had a lot of land on either side, with the neighbors' homes barely visible through the trees. I got out and went around to the passenger door to pick up the pizza, then I headed up to the porch and knocked on the door. A few seconds later, a man came and opened the door wide open. But his face when he saw me seemed very confused and surprised, as if he hadn't expected to see me. Figuring he was just drunk and out of it, I handed him the box and told him his total, to which he slowly and awkwardly handed me cash without saying anything. He held the box of pizza while standing in front of me and looked at it with a strange intensity. Then he moved his eyes up towards me, but not at me. He was looking over my shoulder like he saw something, but was just staring at it with that same intensity before shaking his head slowly, like he was saying no. Getting really uncomfortable watching this man, I couldn't help but look back. I turned my head over my right shoulder and looked toward the driveway. A few feet from my car was a hooded man running back towards the trees. My heart jumped, and I felt my body go into a sort of shock, trying to figure out what to do. I turned back around to face the man at the door, but he immediately stepped back and slammed the door shut. It all happened so fast in just a matter of seconds and gave me no time to react. With the door closed in front of me, I turned to face the hooded man again, but he was lost in the dark tree line. I stumbled off the porch and ran to my car, backing out of the driveway as soon as possible and driving back to work. I calmed myself during the drive, but still couldn't understand what had happened. When I got back, I told Jerry about the encounter, who seemed to have very little reaction, and rather just told me to deliver the next order when I was ready. I did as he said, but on my way back from the delivery, I ended up pulling over and calling the police to let them know just in case. They said they would have an officer check it out and call me back to update me. I got a call an hour later, and once I got out of work, I waited in the parking lot for the police to show up and talk to me. When the officer came up to my car, he mentioned that he talked to the man at the residence who matched the description I gave him. The guy told the officer that he was just waiting for his buddy Jerry to show up since he knew he worked at the pizza shop. When asked about the hooded man, he gave no details, saying he didn't know anything about that, and he didn't see anyone. With that information, I was even more horrified and confused. I thought maybe they called thinking Jerry was a delivery driver and were setting him up so that they could jump him. That would explain the hooded man by my car and the surprise of the guy at the door. I talked to Jerry on multiple occasions about it though, but he gave me quick, useless answers, saying the guy was just an old friend and that he didn't know anything about anything. I still don't know for sure what the situation was, but it was by far the strangest and creepiest I've ever had. So I worked as a delivery driver for 2 years, and this is the creepiest thing that happened to me. I was sent on a delivery around 1 p.m., so it was nice and sunny outside. I get to this house, which was in a nice neighborhood. I ring the bell and an old lady answers it. She has a walker and hands over the money to me. She then asks if I can put the pizza on her kitchen table because she is alone and carrying things is hard for her. For safety reason, delivery drivers are not to enter a customer's house. But I thought she's old and needs my help. What if this was my grandma? So I go in. I walk into her kitchen and take the pizza and place it on the table. I then hear a thumping noise. I think nothing of it. She says, "Let me give you an extra tip for helping me, wait here." She walks away and I am left there alone. I hear the thumping noise again. I ask her if she heard something, she says no. I then hear another thud followed by an almost dragging sound coming from the second floor. I tell her, "That's not necessary. I got 2 other deliveries to take and had to go." She said, "It's fine, I almost have it." I start making my way toward the front door. As I got closer, I heard a gasp coming from the top of the stairs next to the door. I look up and saw something rush backwards, then I open the front door. I hear, "Here you are, sweetie." I say thank you and rush to my car. When inside, I see her watching me from the front door. Now this next part I am not sure if it happened or if I imagined it. But I thought I saw someone in a window from the second floor. I gunned it out of there. I told my coworkers, but they looked at me like I was crazy. Thankfully, I never delivered there again. I want to thank you guys for the recent support. If you enjoy the content, please like the video and subscribe. It helps me a lot.